in association with sanitation conditions and hygienic status of butchers. These are the contents of my presentation: introduction, problem statement, methodology, results and discussion, and conclusion. Starting with introduction, the water used by poultry butchers for cleaning the hands and slaughtering may act as a transfer of pathogens to the human body via meat consumption. The use of water throughout the day may give rise to the growth of disease-causing pathogens such as Salmonella, Shigella, and E. coli. The pathogens disperse and get transmitted to the butcher's hand and their surroundings during meat processing. Problem statement: the Pakistan health authorities have reported an ongoing outbreak of extensively drug-resistant typhoid fever that began in Hyderabad district of Sindh and Jamshoro. Typhoid fever can be treated with antibiotics, but although increasing resistance in many types of antibiotics is making treatment more complicated, it is more common in places with poor sanitation, but access to safe water and adequate sanitation hygiene among food handlers are all effective in preventing typhoid fever. The research has two objectives. One is to analyze the presence of hygienic indicator bacteria, that is Salmonella, Shigella, and E. coli in water used by poultry slaughtering facilities for sanitary purposes. And second objective is to determine the antimicrobial resistance of Salmonella against the commonly used antibiotics. Sample collection: total 39 samples were collected, 14 from Jamshoro and 25 from Hyderabad. Samples were collected from the containers of poultry slaughter shops, which they are using for different purposes like cleaning of slaughtering tools, their hands, or etc. These are the pictures of samples. Samples were collected from containers of the poultry slaughterhouses, such as buckets, and from their bottles. And the study was conducted from January 2020 to December 2020. These are the pictures of poultry shops from where I collected the water samples. And this is the methodology. All the methods were lab-based. First of all, I prepare the agar, then I culture the bacteria. After that, I count the colonies, then I subculture the Salmonella, and after that, I confirm the Salmonella by two biological tests, TSI test and urease test. And after that, I did this diffusion test for determination of antimicrobial resistance. First of all, I serially diluted the sample. This is the process of serial dilution. This slide is showing the culturing of bacteria and enumeration of colonies. For culturing of bacteria, I use Salmonella Shigella agar, and Salmonella Shigella agar allow the growth of Salmonella, Shigella, and E. coli. And on the basis of difference in the color of bacteria, I identified the colonies and I count the colonies. After that, I subculture the black colonies, which are of Salmonella, on another SS agar plate. Then I did triple sugar iron agar test for Salmonella. It is 4-step process. First of all, I prepare the agar, then I keep the tube in a slanted position so that it adopts the shape of slant. And then I inoculate a single colony of Salmonella by stepping through the center. And after that, I incubate it for 24 hours. And after 24 hours, color of the agar change from pink to dark yellow, which indicates the presence of Salmonella. And this is the process for urease test. It is also another confirmatory test. For the performance of urease test, I did 2 loop full of pure and well isolated colonies of Salmonella, inoculated in the urea broth and shake it gently and incubated in the incubator with loosened caps for 48 hours at 35 degrees centigrade. And this is the process of this diffusion test. Again, it is a 5-step process: preparation of Mueller-Hinton agar, subculturing of Salmonella, placement of antibiotic test, measurement of zone of inhibition, and comparison of zones with database zone standards. These are the antibiotics. I tested the Salmonella against these 9 antibiotics which are commonly used, and antibiotics are given in poultry farms for growth promotion, for disease control, and many other purposes, which causes increase in resistance among the Salmonella. And these are the results. Salmonella is found in 64.28% of samples. In Shigella is found in 30 samples, so you can say 78.57%, and prevalence of E. coli was 71.42%. And these are CFU count. Most of the samples were having colonies more than 1200, which is an alarming situation. And only 8 samples were having 0 colonies of Salmonella, and 5 samples were having 0 colonies of Shigella, while just 9 samples were having 0 colonies of E. coli. These are the results of this diffusion test. Ampicillin shows highest resistance in all the samples, while the ceftazidime shows minimum resistant, or you can say it is most susceptible. These are the pictures of laboratory work. In conclusion, the poultry butcher shops of Hyderabad and Jamshoro are using poor quality water with higher rate of disease-causing pathogens. Antibiotic-resistant salmonella is circulating among these poultry settings. The high resistance of salmonella isolates to these antibiotics can be explained by the high level use of antibiotics in veterinary due to their relatively low price and availability to the local population. And to improve the quality of water, there is a need to create the awareness among the poultry butchers to adopt the hygiene and sanitation standards to increase the safety of meat. These are some other recommendations. Cross-contamination is a great danger at slaughterhouses, and utmost care should be taken to prevent this. Poultry butcher shops should be monitored on regular basis. Formal training of hygiene and meat handling should be given to the butchers. Individuals should be educated to improve food hygiene at their homes and vicinity. Antibiotics should not be used without guidelines in poultry farms. These are my references. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sadaf. The next presenter, we have Fazaila Yunus. Yes, Miss Fazaila, are you here? Okay. Um, okay, I think Miss Fazaila is uh, not here. So the next presenter is Miss Kanita Tariq. Her topic of presentation is Water and Sanitation Service Assessment in three district Sindh Institutions of Sindh. So please, Mr. Kanita Tariq. Miss Kanita?
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Kanata Tariq from US Pakistan Center for Advanced Studies in Water Mute Jamshoro. My research topic is Water and Sanitation Services Assessment in three districts, special education needs institutions of Sindh province. I am supervised by Dr. Jamil Ahmed and co-supervised by Dr. Anila Yasmin. These are the self-explanatory outline of my presentation. Um, as we know that the world's largest minority, that is persons with disabilities, comprise of 1 billion people, which is 15% of total world's population, and the proportion of women in these is more than men in most countries, and 80% of these PWDs live in the developing world. In Pakistan, sanitation facilities are available to only about 42%, out of which 65% in urban areas and 30% in rural settlements. The studies also suggest that the population living in urban slums in Pakistan was reported at 45.5% in 2014. They had poor wash facilities and were at a greater risk of contracting diseases. Schools are a major role player in any child's future, and the poor quality of wash make them less productive because of the health risk associated. In Pakistan, more than 6.5 lakh pupils don't go to school daily because of the health risks, and no potable drinking water is available to the one third of the schools, as suggested by the study conducted by Shafi, and half of the total schools don't have proper sanitation. I have used the statistical yearbook 2016 by which I have created these graphs, talking about the different categories of the differently abled people in Sindh, rural and urban, which we can see that the blind, deaf and dumb, crippled, mentally retarded, insane, and the other disabilities. The problem statement of my research is that the children in special needs schools are the most vulnerable population, and it is likely that the vulnerable populations are more exploitable. Therefore, it is important to study their problems, issues, and challenges in order to communicate with the decision makers. Therefore, the research objective of this study became to assess the level of availability, functionality, and quality of existing wash facilities in special needs institutions in three districts of Sindh province. The methodology of my research was that it was a cross-sectional study in which I used structured questionnaires, and the focal person or the school's representatives were interviewed. Children themselves were also interviewed, and the sign language, Pakistan Sign Language help was sought in cases where communication was a problem. Field observations were made about the infrastructure in the building envelope, and the resources were taken into account. The water quality tested had three categories of parameters: physical, chemical, and biological. And the physical turbidity, pH, and EC were checked with on-site multimeters and some off-site multimeters. And in the chemical category, I checked fluoride, in which I use a spent solution. As we know that the fluorosis, which is sometimes skeletal or dental, it caused the weakened cognitive skills among the children. And silver nitrate titration method was used for the chloride detection. In the biological contamination, I checked E. coli using TBS agar with membrane filtration technique. Um, the results in the slide, some pictures from the lab can be seen. Going to the findings and the general characteristics of the study settings, there were almost like the districts taken into account were Hyderabad, Hala, Kotri, and Jamshoro. Within Hyderabad, both like all public and private sector schools were taken into consideration, and around Jamshoro had the total strength, which was like Jamshoro had the biggest strength of students, which was 107, and the total number of occupants were found in more quantity in Hyderabad in one of the schools, which was HIC, which was hearing impaired children. Um, if I go to the parameters that were taken into account and see the results, then the fluoride was detected below detection limit in Matiari, and 0.23 was found in Hyderabad, which was low. E. coli were found in almost all samples excluding one, and in Jamshoro and Kotri, they had too much to count. TDS was falling ahead of the permissible limit in Matiari, and turbidity and EC was seen in Hyderabad and Matiari both. The result findings were so much shocking in a sense that the apparent situation of the hygiene status in the some of the schools was very much clean, but the lab status showed a lot of different results. So the recommendations of my research become that the essential elements for the improvement of public health are water and sanitation that can be seen from this sanitation policy draft 2014. That is undeniable, and sanitation is defined by sanitation is defined by WHO, takes into consideration both liquid and solid waste, stating as provision of facilities and services for the safe disposal of um, human urine, feces, garbage collection, and wastewater disposal. Sanitation includes physical structure, hygiene-associated behavior, and safe discarding of wastewater, excreta, and other solid waste in the perspective of household, institutional, and industrial activities. And sanitation includes physical structure, hygiene-associated behavior, and safe. So another recommendation for the study like this was taken from like drinking water and sanitation national policy of 2018 by the Ministry of Water Resources. This suggests that the drinking water and sanitation strategies and initiatives shall be taken up for the provision of access to clean and safe drinking water and sanitation facilities throughout the country. The quality of drinking water, urban and rural, should meet specified standards, and quality monitoring plans shall be prepared, and agencies shall be held responsible for the application. I would like to have any questions, comments, or suggestions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Kanita. Very nice presentation about the sanitation of water. And I think we should focus on this. This is a very neglected area, I think. So thank you very much. The next presenter we have Muhammad Tosif. His topic of presentation is UASB, an approach towards wastewater treatment. Ji Tosif sab. Okay, I think Mr. Tosif is uh, not here. So Amjid Hayat Saab, are you here? Okay, his topic of presentation is المجتمعات في محاضر الماء تلوث أسبابه وعلاجه المعاصرة. What I have understand from his presentation, I think this means that dangerous for the
म्यूट किया है म्यूट मेरी आवाज आपको आ रही है
जी आ रही है
ओके सर ओके 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 السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته
عليكم السلام
أولا أنا أشكر منتظمي المؤتمر الدولي لجامعة الرفاه الذين منحوا لي فرصة للتقديم هذا الموضوع في هذا المؤتمر أشكركم شكرا جزيلا
شكرا أهلا وسهلا
أهلا وسهلا يا أستاذ كما تعرفون أن موضوع مقالتي تلوث الماء ومخاطره في المجتمعات المعاصرة، أسبابه وعلاجه في ضوء تعليم الإسلام. لا شك في ذلك أن الماء نعمة من نعم الله تعالى للخلق أجمعين، وسر هذه الحياة لا تقوم إلا به، كما قال تعالى: وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي. ونحن نجد في عصرنا الحاضر أن من المشاكل التي تتواجهها المجتمعات المعاصرة هي قضية النقص والتلوث في مياه الشرب، حيث تسعى جهات عديدة بمعالجة هذه المشكلة بإيجاد أشياء جديدة لحماية الماء من التلوث ورفع كفاءة استعمالها، وأن تلويث الماء لغير حاجة أو مصلحة حراما شرعا، وتزداد حرمته إذا كان تلويث الماء بما يقتل قطعا لا زن، كالتلويث بالأشعة النووية وغيرها. فهناك نصوص في الشريعة الإسلامية التي تؤكد تحريم تلويث الماء، مثل قول الرسول صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: لا يبولن أحدكم في الماء الدائم الذي لا يجري ثم يغتسل فيه، وغير ذلك من الأحاديث. وحماية البيئة من أي تلوث أو أذى أو فساد واجب على كل إنسان، لأنه يتأثر بها وتهلك حياة الإنسانية بما فيها من المخاطر الجسيمة والأضرار الخطيرة. وعلى هذا البناء نحن نجد توجيهات الإسلام الداعية للحفاظ عليه، حيث أن الإسلام أقر بمبدأ تطهير النجاسات بالماء، فإذا تنجس الماء نفسه أو تلوث فإن تطهير الماء مما علق به عرف باسم تنكية الماء. والنصوص الشرعية التي ظهرت بالمبادئ والأحكام المنظمة لتطهير النجاسات عن أي جسم علقت به تشمل تطهير الماء مما علق بها التنكية، وتكون مطلوبة شرعا بدلالة النصوص نفسها الآمرة بالتطهير، مثل قوله تعالى: وثيابك فطهر. إذن حذف هذه الرسالة وحذف هذه المقالة إلى بيان توجيهات السنة النبوية في المحافظة على صحة الإنسان وحياة الكائنات الحية الأخرى من خلال البيئة المائية وحمايتها من التلوث كعنصر بيئي مهم، وذلك بإبراز الأحاديث المتعلقة بتعامل الإنسان معها وخطر ذلك على حياته وعبادته وصحته. ويقتضي لنا سبق السنة النبوية في الاهتمام بالبيئة المائية، ويتجه البحث إلى التأصيل لذلك باعتبار الماء أحد أهم موجودات البيئة، ولإبراز جملة من الآداب والأحكام والتشريعات التي تحفظ لهذا العنصر المهم للبقاء والاستمرار. وهو الملحوظ من خلال بحثها إذا اشتملت على بيان أهمية الماء وبيان ضرورته للحياة وكونه حقا مشاعا للناس وضرورة حمايته من التلوث، مع بيان المراد من الملوثات والحكم الشرعي في حمايته من التلوث، ودراسة الأحاديث النبوية المبينة لوسائل حمايته من التلوث والداعية إلى المحافظة عليه كاشتراط وجوب الطهارة، طهارة الماء لرفع الحدثين الذي تصح به العبادات، وتوفير الوسائل لحمايته مثل المنع من البول في الماء ووجوب تغطية أواني الماء ومنع التنفس في ماء الشرب والنفخ فيه وبيان أهمية الاقتصاد حسب الحاجة بلا إسراف أو إهدار. أما مباحث مقالتي ففي المبحث الأول عنوانه أهمية الماء الصافي وضرورته في الحياة. أما المبحث الثاني لمقالتي التي أقدم أمامكم أسباب تلوث الماء وصور فساده. أما المبحث الثالث لمقالتي مخاطر تلوث الماء في المجتمع المعاصر. المبحث الرابع ذكرت فيه المحافظة على نظافة الماء وطرق حماية من التلوث، وذكرت في مقالتي تفصيلا لكل مبحث الأمور المتعلقة عن سيرة النبوية صلى الله عليه وسلم على هذا. والنتائج الذي أخذت من مقالتي النتيجة الأولى وجوب الاقتداء بالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في أفعاله وأقواله فيما يتعلق باستعمال الماء كاستعمال أواني تساعد على عدم هدر الماء. والنتيجة الثانية الذي أخذت من مقالتي
عفوا يا أستاذ، نحن نريد تقصير في المقالة مزيد، نحن 3 دقائق أو 2 دقائق.
تريدون التفصيل في مقالتي؟
نعم.
صحيح. في المبحث الأول الذي على عنوان أهمية الماء الصافي وضرورته في الحياة، ذكرت فيه أهمية الماء الصافي وضرورته في الحياة وفي التنظيف والتطهير وأهميته الشرعية مثل الوضوء والغسل والتيمم وطهارة الثياب، وكذلك أهميته الاقتصادية مثل التجارة والزراعة والثروة الحيوانية والثروة البحرية مثل الثروة السمكية والسفن البحرية، وكذلك إحياء الأرض الميتة والكهرباء نحصل من الماء والسدود والملح. كذلك له أهمية سياسية في عصرنا الحاضر مثل ضرورات المعركة وموانئ حربية طبيعية، ومن أهميتها الاجتماعية مثل حاجة المجتمع للماء وتجمع الحضارات حول الماء، والأهمية الطبية والشرب والسقاية. هذه العناوين أني ذكرت عندما أذكر المبحث الأول أهمية الماء الصافي وضرورته في الحياة. أما المبحث الثاني ذكرت فيه أسباب تلوث الماء وصور فساده، وفيه أني ذكرت مفهوم تلوث الماء وهو التغيير في طبيعة الماء وخواصه في مصادره الطبيعية المختلفة بحيث يصبح غير صالح للكائنات الحية التي تعتمد عليه في استمرار بقائه. ولو 3 أنواع، يعني للتلوث 3 أنواع: تلوث طبيعي وهو تلوث الذي يغير خصائص الماء الطبيعية ويجعله غير صالح للاستعمال الآدمي. وهناك نوع ثاني للتلوث وهو التلوث الكيميائي وهو اختلاط مواد كيماوية سامة في الماء ويسبب بذلك للماء تأثير سام جدا. وهناك التلوث لو قسم ثالث التلوث البكتيري البيولوجي، وذلك بوجود ميكروبات مرضية بالمياه. وهناك مصادر وأسباب تلوث مياه شرب مثل مصادر منزلية ومصادر وأسباب صناعية وأسباب زراعية وأسباب خزانات المياه ونباتية وبشرية وحيوانية وصرف صحي وإشعاعية. كما هناك مصادر التلوث وأسباب التلوث البحري، وكذلك التلوث بالغبار والغازات والميكروبات وغيرها من الجو، والتلوث من سطح الأرض وما به من فضلات آدمية وغير آدمية، والتلوث من السفن العائمة والمراكب السائرة فوق المسطحات المائية العذبة، والتلوث من المصارف والمجاري المتصلة بهذه المياه، والتلوث من مخلفات المصانع التي تصرف في المياه والاستحمام وقضاء الحاجة وغسل الملابس والأواني وغيرها. هذه الأسباب التي ذكرت بسببها يتلوث الماء ويغير صورته حيث يصير فساد للشخصية وللإنسانية. وهناك مخاطر ومضرات تلوث الماء في المجتمع المعاصر، لأن إن
أستاذ
تلوث
عفوا انتهى الوقت. أظن نحن نريد مقالة أخرى.
طيب.
شكرا. شكرا أستاذ. نذكر على حفاظة الماء من النصوص من القرآن والسنة. Mr. Amjad Hayat Sahab discussed about the protection and to avoid the waste of water, and he quoted this his research and supported his research from the Holy Quran and Sunnah. Thank you very much, Ustad, Professor. The next presenter we have Miss Iram Iqbal. Her topic of presentation is screening of chlorine-resistant bacteria from drinking water supply in Hyderabad. Iram, please, you have 6 to 7 minutes, so if possible to conclude your presentation in 5 to 6 minutes, that will be appreciated. Next presenter हमारे पास है रज़ा नईम साहब. जी, रज़ा नईम साहब, प्लीज कंटिन्यू. आतिफ, रज़ा नईम साहब को होस्ट बना दें ताकि वो अपनी स्लाइड शेयर कर सकें. सो द नेक्स्ट प्रेजेंटर वी हैव रज़ा नईम साहब. प्लीज प्रेजेंट योर टॉपिक. रज़ा साहब.
हेलो.
जी सर, हम आप सुन रहे हैं.
जी, I'm saying that can I ask the organizers to put my presentation on? I submitted them 2 or 3 days ago, my PowerPoint.
Sir, if this will be difficult, so if you can share your presentation, that would be great.
I don't know how to share it. Can you please help me?
Yes, sure, sir. आप यहाँ ये ग्रीन बटन नीचे लिखा हुआ है, शेयर स्क्रीन लिखा होगा.
ओके.
आप उस पर क्लिक करें. आपने अगर अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन पहले आप वो खोल लें, फिर इस पे क्लिक करें, तो आपके पूरी स्क्रीन आ जाएगी.
पहले प्रेजेंटेशन खोल लूं?
जी, पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन खोल लें.
जस्ट अ मिनट प्लीज. जी, खोल ली मैंने. 1 मिनट बस लोड हो रही है.
अच्छा
जी, इट्स इन फ्रंट ऑफ मी नाउ.
अच्छा सर, अभी आप जूम पे जाएं और वहां नीचे शेयर स्क्रीन लिखा होगा, उस पे क्लिक करें.
जी, कर लिया.
अच्छा, अभी आपके पास पूरी स्क्रीन खुल जाएगी, उसमें जो आपका प्रेजेंटेशन है उस पे क्लिक करके तो वो शेयर हो जाएगी.
हो गया?
जी सर, अभी आ जाएगा 1 मिनट में. हाँ, हो गया. इसको प्रेजेंटेबल सर बना दें, वो लार्ज कर दें तो.
अच्छा, ये ऊपर इस तरह अब ठीक है?
नीचे से ये जो स्लाइड शो है ना, उस पे क्लिक करें. ये नीचे ये जो जूम होता है ना, प्लस और माइनस जो लिखा है, माइनस के साथ जो एक सिंबल बना हुआ है.
अच्छा, इसको कितने %
नहीं, ये नहीं, ये इधर आपकी लेफ्ट पे आप ये सिंबल बना होगा. ये सर F5 से भी शायद हो जाएगा मेरे ख्याल.
1 मिनट, सॉरी. F5 से.
आतिफ, F5 से होगा ना. ये जो सर नीचे माइनस के साथ लेफ्ट साइड पे बना हुआ है ना, स्लाइड शो का ऑप्शन. हाँ, इनके बिल्कुल नीचे. हाँ, ये इस पे क्लिक करें.
अब ठीक है? अब ठीक है?
ठीक है सर, ठीक है.
हो गया? ये हो गया सही?
नहीं सर, बस ठीक है, आप प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, कोई मसला नहीं है.
ओके. इज इट ओके नाउ?
यस सर, श्योर.
जी, thank you very much to the organizers for accepting my abstract and making it possible for me to present my paper here. Actually, when I saw the call for papers, it immediately clicked with me because I think there was some mention of culture there. Although looking at the program of the conference, I have not seen many, in fact, not any presentation on culture. And I thought that it would be very interesting and provocative to, take an issue with the theme of the conference by actually talking about how Urdu literature literature or literature at all is actually taking cognizance of this whole theme of water scarcity. And of course, in the West, long before the talk of climate change, novels have been written about the scarcity of water. But in Urdu fiction, on both sides of the South Asian border, India and Pakistan, this is a comparatively recent phenomenon. So, Mustansir Hussain Tarar, of course, is a household name in Pakistan. He knows no intro. He does not need any introduction. He's one of the great living writers of Urdu in this part of the world. He actually wrote a trilogy of novels in the 1980s, and the unifying theme of those novels is water. I mean, I call it the River Trilogy because a river is featuring in each and every one of them. So Bahau is the very first novel of this trilogy. It was published in 1987, many years before the issue of water scarcity or population control actually became a hot topic in this part of the world. Now it's fashionable to say that Pakistan is sitting on a population time bomb, and this region, which we call South Asia, is going to be one of the major regions in the next 20-25 years where A, water is going to dry up, and B, experts have estimated that the next war in this region will not be a nuclear war, it will be a water war. So Tarar Sahab wrote this novel Bahau, and then his artistry is that he has written 2 more novels where rivers and their drying up is a central theme. The second part of the novel is, of course, Rak, which also deals with the problem of East Pakistan and what was happening there and how it became an independent country. But again, the theme of a river is very, very prominent. And then the third part of the trilogy is a more recent one written after 2000 called Kurbat-e Marg Mein Mohabbat, which also features the rivers. And all of the rivers which Tarar Sahab is talking about are our local rivers. You know, the river Ravi, the river Saraswati or Ghagra, as it is known. So my presentation is going to be about his very first novel called Bahau, which is universally acclaimed as a masterpiece of Urdu fiction. And the question which is asking, the central character is being asked, and I quote, "But why this happened, Paroshni? We were living in comfort and living life as we wished, and everything was in its place. Then why the rains haven't fallen now? Why have the great rivers, great waters lost their way?" And again, I quote, "We ourselves create a way of life, and when there is an upheaval in this way of life, we become lifeless." Yes, we have ourselves created that way of life, so we cannot break it. And when it breaks, we ourselves break with it. Any way of life, when it is broken, somewhere something happens to break it. So Mustansir Hussain Tarar's neglected trilogy of novels, I say neglected because, not much critical attention has been focused on these novels, even from the perspective of water scarcity, let alone their contribution to Urdu literature. So his trilogy of novels, Bahau, Rak, and Kurbat-e Marg Mein Mohabbat, pose the question as to the fate of civilizations when rivers supporting them begin to dry up. What happens when a whole civilization is on the verge of collapse because the whole source of supporting that civilization, aka the river, begins to dry? In the first novel of the trilogy, Bahau, women play seminal roles as ecofeminists and environmental activists. The river which supports Mohenjo-Daro, the ancient civilization, is conceptualized as a woman, and I quote, "Saraswati, who is the mother of great waters, and the seventh stream, its waters come, roaring grandly and loudly." Then one of the characters called Gagri is solely responsible for hunting exotic birds. So Tarar Sahab has actually brought a whole 5,000-year-old civilization alive using its rhythms and languages, and this is no mean feat. The other character, Pakli, is the sculptor of exquisite seals, which she hopes will immortalize her name long after the river Saraswati has dried up. And I think we all know that the script of the Indus Valley civilization has not been deciphered yet. only the seals, the seals which have pictures on them, they are the ones which have been deciphered, and that is the only thing we know about the existence of a language there. The main character of the novel, Paroshni, is not only cast as the environmental activist who first discovers and then must warn her fellow countrymen about the impending drying up of the river, but in her own personal relations with men and decisions relating to motherhood, she exhibits a remarkable degree of gender equality. So the fate of the land is intimately tied to the role of both water and women as symbols and carriers of fertility. According to Tahir Sahab, only those people are committed to the land who are fertile. A woman is fertile, a man is not fertile, and the water is fertile. Both women and water are the symbols and carriers of fertility of this civilization. So I have
राजा साहब प्लीज आपके पास मजीद 2 मिनट है तो आप 2 मिनट में अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन कंक्लूड
अभी तो मैं शुरू हुआ था
in the beginning I have requested that we have a lot of speakers, so we allotted 7 minutes to each speaker, so please okay, no problem, you can take 2 minutes extra, so please conclude.
Thank you. I don't have a lot of slides anyways, So thank you. So I have argued that in the novel Bahau and its central question of the drying up and decline of rivers leading to the collapse of ancient civilizations, this novel, which was written in 1987, has now found a new relevance in the 21st century, given that the global warming has become a peril and now there is an added human dimension to it, and the fact that Pakistan is one of the most water scarce countries with a rapidly growing population. So Tahir's novel begins with a death scene. I quote, Paroshni picked it with one hand and with the other there's a bird which is now dying, and Paroshni picked it and with one hand and with the other said, while putting water into its open beak, you have also come to die in this lake? The bird did not answer. It was dead. And then, we come to know that the sacred Upanishads, which are sacred to the Hindus, also talk about the sacredness of water. I quote, it uproots the stem of the lily with its force and smashes the edges of the mountains with its powerful waves. And again, and it is a powerful stream which illuminates the pure minds with its light. Let's talk about Paroshni, the central character of the novel. I quote, she had constructed her own home and separated from Mati. Her responsibility was to fill the water casks and pitchers early morning and to dig her share of the earth and plant seeds there and to watch for the arrival of the great waters. But this time it was different. Only she knew that the waters are arriving and others are merely seeking its arrival. Let me talk. I was fortunate to talk to Tahir Saab before this presentation, and let me just briefly tell you in half a minute what he himself says about this novel. According to Tahir Saab, he said that that civilization was a very matriarchal society. और उसमें औरत को ही ताकतवर होना था, the women had to be powerful because मर्द जो है वो बेकार होते हैं, मर्द या तो सोते रहते हैं या वो बीज डालते हैं, मतलब वो रिप्रोडक्टिव करते हैं, तो औरत को ही उन्होंने फर्टिलिटी का सिंबल बनाना था क्योंकि उस सिविलाइजेशन में भी औरत ही जो थी वो कामयाब थी. So this novel actually invites us to talk about these fundamental questions of water scarcity. And I am just going to end this presentation with just a reading of an extract of the novel, just to give you a taste of उन्होंने इसमें actually लिखा क्या है. और ये लाइनें उनकी आखिरी, इस नॉवल की आखिरी लाइनें हैं, जबकि सब सिविलाइजेशन बर्बाद हो रही है, दरिया जो है वो ड्राई अप हो रहा है, तो एक होप का सिंबल ताहिर साहब ने हमें दिया है जो हम यहाँ से लेके जा सकते हैं. और मैं पढ़ता हूँ और इसके बाद प्रेजेंटेशन खत्म हो जाएगी. I quote, पारोशनी के पैरों में रेत उसके पसीने से गीली होती थी. घाघरा के ऊंचे किनारों के अंदर अब खुश्क रास्ता आखिर तक चलेगा जिसमें सिर्फ ठीकरियां होंगी और खुश्क घूंगे होंगे और पकली के आवे से कभी धुआं नहीं उठेगा और चीतर की चांदनी में घाघरा के पानी कभी नहीं लिशकेंगे. वो ये सब जानती थी और फिर भी वो कनक कूटती थी कि उसके पास आधी मुट्ठी कनक थी और उसके खेत हरे होने थे। धम हऊ ये कूटने की आवाज है। कनक कूटने की धम धम की आवाज उठती थी और पारोशनी के वेड़े से ऊपर होती थी और फिर फैलती थी उजाड़ छप्परों पर और रेत से अटी गलियों में और डूबो मिट्टी पर जो कभी थी और वहां जहां कभी रुख थे और अब रेत थी और एक सूखी टहनी थी और मोर का पिंजर था जिसके झाड़ू के रंग उड़ चुके थे और वहां जहां कभी दरिया था और अब ऊंचे खाली किनारे थे और इनमें पानी की बजाय धम धम की आवाज ठहरती थी और तैरती थी। End quote. So Tar Sahab has ended the novel on a very hopeful note, and of course, that civilization faced a huge crisis, and we are now in a crisis in the 21st century called the COVID-19. So just to finish on a hopeful note, I think hopefully mankind will find the resources to emerge from this crisis of water scarcity, and both countries of India and Pakistan will devote their resources not to making nuclear war, but to stave off this water war, which threatens one of the most populated parts of the world, number 6 and 7 in that order, most populated countries in the world. So on that hopeful note, I would like to thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm sorry, and I hope there will be some questions, and I'll be very happy to take them at the end. Thank you very much.
At the end, we have a question answer session at the end of this session. So
Sure.
thank you very much, and a very new dimension in this session about the scarcity and about how to avoid the waste of water. Thank you, Raza साहब. The next presenter, Raza साहब, please इसको आप end कर दें अपनी जो आपकी ये presentation है. So
जी
अच्छा.
मैं एंड कर देता हूँ बिल्कुल.
अच्छा, the next presenter we have Huda Kamal. Miss Huda, are you here? Okay, thank you all. Now we have question answer session. So if anyone अगर किसी का कोई सवाल हो from any of the presenter who presented their papers, so please you can ask the question.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Karita, and my question is directly to Mr. Raza Naeem. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so that was a very pretty interesting and delightful presentation, which was, really not non-scientific. And my question to you, sir, is that at what point did you realize that this novel can be a part of this kind of conference?
जी कानिता सुन रहे हैं हम आपको.
जी, I have put the question to Mr. Naeem if he's there.
वो नईम साहब तो शायद उनका नेट का कोई इशू हो, वो चले गए हैं.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me the opportunity to ask the question. My other question is about the message that I sent you as well about Mr. Amjad Hayat's presentation, because I don't know his whereabouts, and I've dropped him a direct message as well. But it will be great because I'm so much interested in theology and knowing about water with respect to Islam. So it will be great if you people can arrange some presentation in English version.
Okay. We will try our best to contact him. To ask him the presentation, his presentation in English. So if the presentation or the text available with the third speaker, so we will send you and we will provide you.
Thank you so much, sir.
So any question else? किसी का कोई सवाल हो? So I would at the end I would like Junaid Alam Memon Saab to conclude this session with his remarks. Junaid Saab, Kanita Raza Naeem Saab आ गए हैं. अगर आपका कोई question हो तो you may ask.
Assalamu alaikum.
जी Raza Naeem Saab.
Sir, are you there, Mr. Raza Naeem?
जी सॉरी मेरी चार्जिंग खत्म हो गई थी, मैं अभी प्लग इन किया दोबारा.
Thank you so much, sir, for being there. Sir, I wanted to ask that, first of all, thank you for giving a very insightful and delighting presentation on such a topic, because I messaged you directly as well. Sir, I want to ask you that at what point in time, at what particular instant, when you were going through your novel, you realized that this could be a part of this scientific kind of conference?
Well, I think I mentioned at the beginning that when I was reading this call for papers, I read somewhere about some mention of culture because I have attended a few. I mean, I'm trained in development studies, so this is. I mean, water comes naturally in my field of work. I mean, in another life, I would have been a development expert, if at all. So when I read that call for papers, it immediately struck to me because there was some mention of culture, and I thought, okay, fine, obviously literature is a part of culture, and I have been a big fan of Tahir Sahab's novel. He's my neighbor here in Lahore, and I have talked to him a lot about the novel, and if you look on YouTube, you can find many videos where he's talking about how. So I immediately thought that, I mean, I'm not going to make the paper technical, I think, and obviously many of our younger generation don't know Tahir Sahab as a novelist. He, as you mentioned in your, most of us, I mean, I have grown up with him as Chacha Ji, and I hated him in that role. And I told him that when I met him, and he laughed. He only started writing novels in the 1990s. I mean, this was his first novel in 1987. He wrote a Punjabi novel before that, which no one remembers now, and he wrote Fakhta, which is a novella, when he went to the Soviet Union. So he wrote this novel in 1987, and I thought that this is not only a chance for me to talk about one of my favorite novels, but also remind the younger generation that, this is a very recent field in literature. In Urdu, in the West, novels are being written. There is a whole field of thought called ecofeminism, by the way, if you're interested. But in Pakistan, the field is very much young. So it was just my way of creating. And, I think now I'm rewarded when people like you ask these intelligent questions. I wanted to, not that his novels need revival. I mean, his work can stand for itself. But sometimes, people just ascribe him a particular identity that he's just a travelogue writer. Although he's a very, very comprehensive novelist, and I should also tell you that he has just published a novel on Corona, which is the first ever written in Urdu on this coronavirus, just a few months after it has been declared a pandemic. So, yes, I immediately, I was struck by that when I read this, to answer your question, when I read in the call for papers that there is some leeway of culture for culture, although I did not see many cultural presentations in this two-day conference, but I am glad that the organizers thought that my work was worthwhile. And of course, it is not my work. It is actually Tahir Sahab's work, which should stand on its own. I am just standing on his tall shoulders and firing away. I mean, if my presentation helps in bringing a new understanding to this novel with the issue of water scarcity, if it helps to develop a new understanding of how such a powerful civilization like Mohenjo-daro, which was not a military civilization, it did not have an army, it was a peaceful civilization. If that can vanish just by a river changing its course, then what about countries like Pakistan and India, which have huge standing armies, which have fought 3 wars against each other, and yet there are warnings that this region is going to be a water scarce region in just 20-25 years. I mean, it's a scary thought. So even Tahir Sahab did not have an idea, when he wrote this novel in 1987, that this novel is actually going to become a metaphor for describing the state of our countries in the 21st century. So, obviously that is the hallmark of great literature and great art. And, of course, he was not looking at a crystal ball, but now I think it is up to us younger generations to derive the right lessons from this novel, and curb these tendencies towards warfare and nuclearization and towards water preservation and peace.
Thank you so much for your answer, sir. That was really about thinking out of the box. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Kanita.
Okay, thank you, Raza Saab. We have our director, the chief and the main organizer for this conference. This is the last session of this 6th International Water Conference. Professor Dr. Rashid Aftab Saab, he worked as a assistant director and then a project director in PCRWR and many other national and international organizations, and now he is the head and director of the Rifa Institute of Public Policy. And this the water conference, this is the basic idea of Dr. Rashid Aftab Saab when he joined Rifa University. So first conference organized by Dr. Rashid Aftab Saab, and this is now we can say a brand because of the Dr. Saab. So I am very pleased that we have Dr. Rashid Aftab Saab in at the end of this session. I would like to call Dr. Rashid Aftab Saab for his concluding remarks for this ending session. Please, Dr. Saab, the floor is yours.
Dr. Musab, thank you very much. First of all, I really thank to all the presenters. I think since yesterday, both of the aspects of water has been covered. One is the quantity and other is the quality. And both are critical in context with Pakistan. Secondly, I must appreciate Pakistan Council of Research in Water Resources, Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, Asia Foundation, and my university, Rifa International University, and our supporting partners like IPDS and IRP as well. Primarily, let me give you the small background of this conference. For the last 6 years, we are organizing this conference on an annual basis on various themes. This conference, the 6th International Water Conference, was in accordance with its schedule, was to be held in April, but due to the COVID, it has been extended till 29th of December. I think that the presenters and who have presented their valuable papers covers more which are very much critical with the national security, because the national security of any of the country, particularly with respect to Pakistan, has to be considered in context with the water security, in context with the food security, since the water is the main component of agriculture, since 95% of water is consumed in agriculture, and it is related with the energy security, since the hydro energy is the most cost effective and the most and that is also a green energy as well. I think a number of areas has been covered in these sessions, which are very vital, like transboundary issues, conflicts, water conflicts, whether those conflicts or disputes or of within the country, which is interprovincial conflicts. Although we do have a water apportionment account of accord of 1991, they can still there is a trust deficit between all the provinces in context with the water availability. And second conflict is within the state of Pakistan. Although the Indus Basin, which was actually it was divided in 1947. One is the Pakistan Indus Basin, and now another is the Indian Indus Basin. We already signed in 1960 Indus Water Treaty between India and Pakistan, and that was guaranteed by the World Bank. But that treaty is right now it is in a very fragile situation, because there is a lot of trust deficit exists between the India and Pakistan, although a governance mechanism for governing the Indus Basin irrigation system is there, like in the form of the institutional which is an institutional mechanism in the form of Indus Water Commission, comprises of Pakistan Indus Water Commission and the Indian Indus Water Commission. but in context with the interpretation of the various clauses, there exists a huge trust deficit between the two of the states. And there is an urgent need to use the various tools to bridge up these trust deficit, whether it is between the countries or within the country, like diplomacy, water diplomacy, alternate dispute resolution mechanism, which involve negotiation, mediation, arbitration, since it is in the best interest of the common people, of the common citizens of the respective countries or within the countries. Another important aspects with respect to water quality is concerned. Whenever we talk about the water quality, it means provision of safe drinking water for the human consumption, because every clean water is not safe for drinking purposes. That's why in US and other countries there is a Clean Water Act and there is a Safe Drinking Water Act. If we go for the data, you will be surprised that 60% of the bed in Pakistan are occupied because of waterborne disease. So think in terms of this is so much critical in context with the health, because if person is not getting a safe drinking water, its health is compromised. It means its productivity is compromised. It means it compromises the national productivity or national development as well. That's why the safe drinking water is critical, and obviously with safe drinking water, the sanitation aspect, Pakistan is still far behind with respect to the sanitation coverage of the country, and we have to do a lot. That's the concept of the WASH. Water, sanitation, and hygiene are interrelated with each other. One aspect which is very much we still treat water as a free commodity that nature has given us water, so we can use, misuse, or even abuse the water sources, whatever we like, whether it's a surface water, whether it's a groundwater, or whether it's a rainwater, and keeping in view the present situation when the per capita availability of water has declined from five times since 1947 up to 2020. A comprehensive strategy taking all the stakeholders at board through a awareness and campaign for changing the behaviors for using this precious commodity, so that we may pursue a conservative to conserve the water, to save the water, to use water in accordance with its requirement, whether it's a crop water requirement, since 95% of water is being consumed in the agriculture, whether we used at our households. So there is a huge paradigm shift is required, and for this we have to focus right from the school, at a school level, and we have to include the subject of water starting from the school level, so that the children must be trained, or they must know the importance of water. I hope, although we do have a national water policy in this country, it was approved in April 2018, but there is an urgent need. There is an urgent need to implement that policy. I hope the deliberations which has been carried out in the multiple various technical sessions in this 2 weeks conference will lead us to give the concrete recommendations in the form of the policy actions those policy recommendations will be the part of will be the part of the proceedings of this conference, which we are going to published and shared with all of the presenters, and those recommendations will be shared with the decisions maker, with the policy actors, with the parliamentarians, with the standing committees of the Senate and the national assemblies relevant to the subject, whether it's water, agriculture, or energy, or climate change as well. The new phenomena of the climate change has placed Pakistan in the first 10 countries which are very much vulnerable with respect to the glacier melt as well as the high temperature. It has a direct effect on the water sources as well. So I must thank to all of you, all of my colleagues, all of my professional fellows, and particularly who have presented the very pertinent papers on the subjects. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. A very comprehensive talk and a summarized talk on the sessions who presented the paper. I want to thank all the presenter one by one. First of all, Farhat Asif Sahiba, as he discussed about the water diplomacy, the blue diplomacy, and she stressed on the two things in his talk about the that water diplomacy must be introduced at the I mean academically at the university level, and we have to establish the department, the subject syllabus for this specific area of study. And the second thing she enlightened in his talk about the regional alliances. And she mentioned that this water should be used for the regional alliances and for the
यूसफी साहब आपकी आवाज चली गई है.
Dr. Musab, your mic is off. I think there is an issue. Your mic is off.
सर वो बंद हो गया था, पता नहीं क्या वजह थी.
It's okay.
जी जी, sorry for the inconvenience. So second thing, she stressed on the regional alliances, and she mentioned that through these regional alliances, through these regional diplomacy, we can enhance the international standing and international understanding. That was the other four papers presented in this session. The paper especially by the Kanita Tariq, and the paper by the Sadaf and Naveed Ahmad. The both papers basically discussed and focused on the sanitation, as the bacteria, as they discussed the polluted water, as they suggested and mentioned that around about the 65% in urban and 30% rural areas, they are facing the problem. 42% of the whole country can access to the healthy water, the water that are bacteria free. Specifically, as they discussed about the Hyderabad and Jamshoro, and they discussed in his research, and they as their recommendation and their conclusion was that most of the schools, they are not properly following all the SOPs and protocols that are leading towards the healthy water. Most of the water they are using, there is we can see by our eyes that there is no this water is all okay, but when they are going to test these waters in the lab, so there are many problems, like they mention the salmonal Shigella and E. coli kind of bacteria and viruses were found in their study. The next topic that was covered by Amjad Hayat Khan Saab. Amjad Hayat Saab, Amjad Hayat Saab, he basically presented his presentation topic, if I going to correctly translate his topic, because he delivered his speech in Arabic. So the presentation was about the caution and danger for the community in the water context, reasons and cure for the problem in this contemporary era. So he basically covered the research, the study, his paper about that. He gave the how to secure the water, how to avoid the waste of the water from the Quran and Sunnah. And he mentioned three texts from the Quran and Sunnah. The first about that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says in the Quran that I made everything from the water, and the second from the hadith of Prophet peace be upon him that do not waste the water even if you going to evolution. अगर आप वुजू भी कर रहे हैं तो उस वक्त भी पानी ज़ाया नहीं करनी चाहिए. And the next thing ayah he mentioned that is a very comprehensive and I shocked when I listened this that he covered all the things in this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that in the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of night and day, in the ships that sail the oceans for the benefit of mankind, in the water which Allah sent down from the heavens and brought with it life to earth after being dead, and gave life in it to every kind of land animal, and in directing the winds and in the clouds that are enslaved between the heavens and the earth. All these are signs for a people who comprehend the signs, the people who are yaqilun. So, and the last presenter we have Raza Naeem Saab. He basically gave a very different angle to the whole study. That was basically his presentation focused on the literature, and he took the Tarat Saab novel, Urdu novel, or from that novel he comprehend many things about the water. For example, he, as he mentioned, the water and the woman role in the society, the water and the woman role for the human life. So that was also a very new phenomena and new experience we have in this session. Thank you all for to have. We have five presenter in this session, and I am thankful to all of you. I am thankful to the listeners, and with the permission of Dr. Rashid Aftab Sahab, we're going to conclude this session.
Yeah,
Sir.
absolutely. I really appreciate Dr. Musab, you and Dr. Junaid Memon from the PIDE, my other colleague Kashif Zahir Saab, Rahmat Saab, and everybody who have really worked hard to make this conference a success event. And inshallah, we will be in touch with you, and we are going to share with you the conference proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Junaid Saab, please, anything?
Dr. Junaid, would you like to add anything, please?
Hey, Dr. Saab, I think you have done a wonderful job in concluding the session. Yeah, it has been a long session. So better not to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So nice of you. So nice of you. Thank you. All the best. And take very good care of yourself during this COVID, second phase of COVID. Thank you.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
Thank you.